What up, all my fight fans? UFC 296 is just around the corner. It is this Saturday, and we got ourselves one hell of a fight card. One hell of a fight card. I am very much looking forward to this. This is probably going to be the best fight card of the year. So let's start from the top, shall we? We got the highly anticipated welterweight championship of the world title fight. We got the champion Leon Edwards taking on the return Colby Covington. This is going to be a very fun fight, a very interesting fight. So let's break this down, shall we? We got Leon Edwards, who defended his title back in, I believe it was March of this year, against Kamaru Usman, winning I believe it was a unanimous or decision. Don't quote me on that, but he did win the decision. He beat Kamaru Usman and retained his belt. He's been out for quite some time, as you can see. He is now fighting in December, so it's been a little bit, but not as long as Colby Covington. Colby Covington's last fight was against Jorge Masvidal back in March of 2022. That makes this over a year and a half, maybe even more, like say about a year and going pretty much, he's getting closer to 2 years of being away from the octagon. Now that's a long time to be away, a very long time to be away in the prime of your career and in a division such as the welterweights. We all know that when it comes to the welterweights and down, the older you get, the more dangerous it is to be in those divisions. And the longer you are away from the cage, the more dangerous it is to be in those divisions. Now, I know legendary Dominick Cruz had to beg to differ with that. And in some cases, he was right, because he did win his title back against TJ Dillashaw when he returned to the octagon after being away for 3 years or so, if I remember that correctly. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Colby and Leon. So going into this fight, it's going to be, again, it's going to be the striking versus the wrestling. It's going to be Colby Covington's cardio versus Leon Edwards' patience. You know, it's gonna be a good back and forth war. I see this fight being more like the part 3 fight of Kamaru Usman and Leon Edwards, where Kamaru Usman was constantly pressuring him. I can see Colby Covington pressuring Leon Edwards nonstop, pressing him against the cage, doing his best to get those takedowns, which I do believe he could land. But on the other hand, you got Leon Edwards, who has actually done tremendously, has done great when it comes to takedown defense, when it comes to stopping those takedowns. When it comes to grappling, he has his own background in them. You know, so again, Kamaru Usman was no punk. Kamaru Usman was a very high caliber wrestler himself, was actually able to beat Colby Covington twice, 2 different occasions. So I know MMA math doesn't always necessarily match up, but in certain ways, this one, I feel like it could go somewhat similar, because you know, Leon Edwards has already shown what he can be able to do and what he could withstand when it comes to wrestlers. Now, the only difference is Colby Covington has a gas tank like no other. I think he has the best gas tank in the whole division, if you ask me. He can strike and he can wrestle nonstop. Where Kamaru Usman, very good striker, very powerful striker, and very good wrestler, but I feel like his cardio wasn't at par with Colby Covington's. Even though he did beat Colby. That second fight between those two guys actually was a lot more closer, and I feel like it could have gone either way. The first fight, we already saw it. He pretty much dominated Colby. Well, not necessarily dominated. Again, back and forth war, but he was able to connect with Colby and stop him via stoppage in the 5th round, Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington. So, nonetheless, even Kamaru Usman has stated the fact that if it wasn't for him, Colby Covington would be the champion. But Leon Edwards is a champion. So how does Leon Edwards win in this fight? Well, Leon Edwards has to do his best to keep what he's actually really good at doing is striking. Really good at his push kicks. Really good at using those kicks. He knocked out Kamaru Usman with one of those head kicks. He has to keep Colby Covington away from him. He has to do his best to make Colby Covington very pay for trying to do his best to take him down. He has to make Colby Covington pay for those crazy unorthodox strikes that he likes to do. So that's how he's going to be able to win this fight. I don't see Leon Edwards being a one-punch artist, even though he has great head kicks. Again, we saw with Kamaru Usman, but I don't necessarily see that. I see this being a 5-round decision for sure. Colby Covington, on the other hand, he has to pressure Leon Edwards. He has to constantly pressure him, push him against the cage, go for those takedowns, hold him down there, utilize some of those ground and pounds, do some of those elbows and those knees and such like that. Really make him guess with those wild punches that he likes to do. You know, he doesn't box like any or regular boxer, or excuse me, he doesn't have those, you know, that fundamental boxing skill. He actually boxes in crazy different angles where it is hard to see them coming, and he has to keep Leon Edwards guessing on where those punches are coming from. So, and if he could do that, then he actually has a good chance as well. Well, and also, what a lot of people are not talking about, I hear people saying that Leon Edwards has already faced guys at the caliber of Colby Covington. Yes, it's true, but he has not faced the mental warfare like someone that Colby Covington could lay on him. You know, we all saw that famous knockout that Conor McGregor did to Jose Aldo, because what did he do? He mentally warfare him to death, I guess you could say. He pretty much made the fight, he broke the fight in his head. He pretty much made Jose Aldo forget the game plan and rush after him. That's what he did. And that's what Colby Covington could do to Leon Edwards. He can actually make Leon Edwards forget the game plan, piss him off so much that he just throws everything out the window and rushes for him and rushes into something that he doesn't see coming. And it's very possible. See, because again, he's always fought guys with respect. There was never really much trash talk with Kamaru Usman. Even when he fought Nate Diaz, there wasn't really much trash talk. But at the end of the day, he's never faced anybody like that, so that's something you got to look out for if Leon Edwards could be prepared for that. I feel like he could. I feel like he can hold his own against Colby Covington as well, but it all remains to be seen. So who's going to win that fight? My money, I do feel like, even though this fight should be a lot closer, I do feel like Leon Edwards has the edge on him, due to the fact that he has actually gotten so much better with his takedown defense and so much better with the striking. Even though he was really good, a great striker, I do feel like that he has improved ever since those fights with Kamaru Usman. I definitely do feel like that. So that's my pick for that fight. In your co-main event, you have Pantoja versus Royval. This is a rematch. These guys faced each other in the earlier years. I want to say back in 2021, if I remember correctly. We already know these guys. These guys are flyweights, and we know how flyweights fight. These guys like to scrap, and they don't stop until there's either a submission or a knockout. Very rarely you get a decision, but I feel like this is going to definitely be one hell of a war. We already saw how Pantoja won the title against Brandon Moreno. It was a crazy war. The guy let it all out in the octagon. He pretty much did everything he could do to win the fight, and he got the fight, and he actually got the championship. Royval, is actually been in somewhat of a little bit of a winning streak. He's been able to not knock out a few guys, but being able to knock off a few contenders to get himself this title shot, including guys like Cara France and a few others. This could be very interesting. You know, you can't always look at the first fight and feel like it's going to be the exact same. You know, times change. People get better. People get worse. You never know. But you can't always put that out there and just say, yeah, it's going to be just like the first one. I personally do not feel like that. I feel like it could be a little bit more of a different fight, even though Pantoja won. And I do feel like Pantoja can actually win this one because with his experience, and of course he has that confidence that he beat him already, and with the fact that there was always that, what Teddy Atlas has said, once you become champion, you become so much more better than what you originally were before you're a champion. And I do feel like with the skills that Pantoja holds, I do feel like he can edge out Royval in this fight. I do feel like he's going to make it and make it a very ugly fight. He's going to go after him. He's going to let it all out, just like he did with Brandon Moreno. And I do feel like he can even possibly stop him once again. I believe he got him in that submission, if I'm correctly on that one. Or he could possibly stop him, because I do feel that he has the ability to do that. That's my pick. I do feel Pantoja is actually going to get this one out. Also on the card, you have the rising star, Shavkat Rakhmonov, excuse me if I'm saying that wrong, Shavkat Rakhmonov, there we go, taking on Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. There's a lot of talk about this could possibly be a number one contender fight. You know, Shavkat has 17 wins, all by knockout, all by stoppage. Possibly, I think there's actually a few submissions in there, but pretty much has not went to decision yet. He's winning against some really top contenders, guys like Jeff Neal and Neil Magny, and I think a few other guys. Excuse me, I'm drawing a blank on those guys right now. But reason why I bring up those names is because, as a matter of fact, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is his highest ranked opponent yet, I would believe. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, we all know them. We all know him. He's already fought for the championship twice against Tyron Woodley. You know, he's coming off a few good victories. He came off that victory over Kevin Holland, and yeah, he's been up and down in the welterweight division. Has a few losses, has a few wins, but this is a really good test for Shavkat, and also a really good test for Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Stephen Wonderboy, he pretty much wants that title shot again. He knows he's getting up there in age. He knows he only has one chance, one opportunity to do so, and this time is now. And he actually is going against the right opponent because, you know, when it gets closer, when you get to that top 5, you're going against the Sharks, and you really got to go through them if you really want that chance at another title shot. So you got a young rising star, and you got an older veteran. It's going to be a very interesting fight. We're going to see who's ready. We're going to see if this could possibly be very well Stephen Wonderboy's final fight. You never know. Like I said, because if he loses this fight, it's really the end of the road. Like, that's it. You ain't going to get another shot. You're going to have to go through a few more fights, which is going to take a few more years. And you are going to have to go through some Sharks again and at much more older age. Not sure if you really want to do that. And as far as Shavkat goes, yes, this could be win number 18. Or if he loses, you never know. He's still very young, and he could still climb that ladder once again. No problem. So how is this fight going to go down? Well, Shavkat has to do what everyone does to Stephen Wonderboy. He has to take him down. Stephen Wonderboy is pretty much a karate fighter, a point fighter, and he utilizes all those karate skills that he has. And if you take away those karate skills, he really doesn't have much on the ground. So if that's what Shavkat could do, pretty much take him to the ground, utilize some ground and pound, go in for some submission attempts and such, he can actually get a stoppage, very possibly, only on the ground. Now, if he stands with them, it's going to be a little interesting because I do believe Stephen Wonderboy is a very, very talented striker. You saw some of all these great fights, even though he's only been stopped by one person, Anthony Pettis, and Anthony Pettis was actually losing that fight. He caught him with the Superman punch. Great punch, by the way. But other than that, he did lose to Darren Till a decision, but that fight could have gone either way. But when it comes to actually just striking, there's really no one else that can really go toe-to-toe with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson when it comes to just striking. So for Shavkat to try to do that, it is going to take some guts to do. But on the other hand, you never know. Maybe Shavkat wants to prove a point that, no, I could beat him at his own game, and maybe he could. Stephen Wonderboy, at the other hand, he needs to do his best to keep this fight standing. His best attributes are on the feet and pretty much utilizing his point fighting skills and even trying to go for some of those head kick knockouts like he was able to do in his earlier days. So, yes, I definitely feel like Stephen Wonderboy has a chance and has a possibility because, again, you know, Shavkat, I don't see him being a cocky fighter, and I definitely don't see him being like feeling like he's already made it to the top. But this is actually a really good fight and a really good opportunity for him and for Wonderboy to showcase, like, hey, this is what it's like to fight someone like me. This is what it's like to fight the veterans. Yeah, no disrespect to Jeff Neal and Neil Magny, but they're not on the same caliber as Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, and he needs to show Shavkat that, exactly. Now, who's going to win this fight? It's a toss-up. I feel like a lot of people are just not really taking into consideration Stephen Wonderboy Thompson's skills, but I feel like he can actually do it. I'm actually going for upset here, guys. I'm picking Wonderboy Thompson. On the fight card as well, to the next fight, we got the return of Paddy the Baddy Pimblett taking on, of course, one of the all-time favorites, Tony Ferguson, El Cucuy himself. We all know Tony Ferguson has fallen some hard times. 6 fights in a row losing streak. Again, I know a lot of people like to say, oh, he lost to the best, but still, 6 in a row isn't a good thing. It really isn't, especially the way he lost some of those fights. You know, the way he lost them, he took a beating. We all remember that beating that he took with Justin Gaethje. We all remember that knockout he took from Michael Chandler. We all remember that submission that with Bobby Green and all these submission attempts from Charles Oliveira and Beneil Dariush. We remember these fights. It's really getting close for that time for Tony Ferguson to finally say, you know what? I think I'm done. I think the time is now. This could very well be Tony Ferguson's final fight. I personally feel like it. He's always going to be remembered as one of the most hardworking fighters out there. You know, I remember Chael Sonnen saying how he would work sometimes 8, 10, 11, 12 hours in the gym. And he would just be doing these crazy and unorthodox things that not a lot of people do in the gym. And right now he has this new coach, I think it was named David Goggins. I personally feel like, just like a lot of people are even saying the exact same thing, that he doesn't necessarily need that. There was nothing ever really wrong with Tony Ferguson's cardio, because that's what seems like they're getting at, is his cardio. We all saw Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson never gave up, never quit on the stool, never said, hey, I can't do it no more, I can't go on. We never seen Tony Ferguson lay on the mat and just out from pure exhaustion. You know, we never seen that. Because Tony Ferguson has cardio for days and days and days. He could keep going. He was upset that they stopped that Justin Gaethje fight, even though he was taking a beating, a real bad beating. So for him taking on this new coach, I personally feel like it wasn't the right move or the smart move. But at the end of the day, what do we know, right? As far as Paddy Pimblett goes, well, this is his return. You know, he hasn't fought since, I believe it's been over a year, against Jared Gordon, I want to say, back in December of last year. A very controversial win. A lot of people felt like he didn't get that win, and he's been out. He had some injuries. I believe he had a wrist injury or some kind of shoulder injury, elbow injury, something to that liking. But this is his return, and now it's actually a step up in competition. We've seen Paddy go up and fight some of these other non-ranked fighters. But regarding of how you see Tony Ferguson, he is still a much more higher ranked and much more tougher opponent than the opponents that he has already faced. I'm talking about Paddy. So this is actually a really good test for Paddy, for sure. But what Paddy needs to do, he needs a finish. Because we already seen that Tony can get finished now. And he needs to prove to people that he is back and he is ready to take on all challengers, all comers, and he is ready to go after that title. No, I'm not saying that he should get a title shot after this fight, but I'm saying that he needs to start making a statement, especially after that so-called victory last year in December against Jared Gordon. So he has to make a statement, for sure. Tony Ferguson, on the other hand, he has to make a statement saying, I am not done, that I am not over the hill, that I am not past my prime, that I'm none of those things. I have fallen out of hard times, yes, but I am back and I am getting up now. So guys, how does this fight go down? Well, Tony Ferguson, he has to show his experience. He has to show him the unorthodox of Tony Ferguson, where he was always able to throw crazy back fists, crazy elbows, crazy kicks, pretty much going from all different angles, going over for that ankle pick and trying to go for these weird submission attempts that he was always able to do, using those long hands and those long arms to his advantage. That's what he needs to do. He needs to utilize those elbows like he used to, cutting up all his opponents. Remember when Tony Ferguson was on the top of the lightweight division? You look at all his opponents that he faced, they all came out different. They all had scars. Josh Thompson, Edson Barboza, Rafael Dos Anjos, Donald Cerrone, Anthony Pettis, they did not walk away unscathed. They all walked away from being busted open by Tony Ferguson's elbows. And that's what Tony Ferguson needs to do. He needs to show Paddy, that this level, you're not ready for this level. You're on my level now, and I'm going to show you why you're not ready. And I'm going to show you and give you a beating that you're never, ever going to forget. That's what Tony Ferguson needs to do. He needs to utilize his stamina. He needs to utilize his cardio for sure and pretty much overwhelm Paddy. Even though he is 39, I do feel like that's something Tony Ferguson can do. Now, on the other hand, Paddy, what he needs to do, he needs to utilize some of that ground game. He needs to come up with some striking on his own. He needs to pretty much show Tony Ferguson that he is much more older, that he has lost a step, that he doesn't have those same instincts like he used to have. He doesn't have that same speed anymore. He doesn't have the same power anymore. He doesn't have any of those things. He needs to show people that, hey, that fight over Jared Gordon was me fighting hurt, and this is going to be a new Paddy. I want to show everybody that I am not that same Paddy back from last year. I am a new Paddy, and he needs to pretty much steamroll Tony Ferguson, pretty much kick him out of the UFC. He needs to go in there and just stomp on him 100%. Put a beating on him so Tony Ferguson could finally retire. So he could put Tony Ferguson in retirement. And he could make it a statement like, hey, this is who I am now. Now, who's going to win this fight? I'm sorry, guys, but I got to go with my favorite. I'm a little biased. I got to go with Tony Ferguson. That's my pick right there. Guys, that's UFC 296. There is also more fights on the card. You got Bryce Mitchell taking on Josh Emmett. You got Cody Garbrandt on the fight card. This is a really, really great fight card, guys. Definitely tune in. 296, this Saturday. Let me know who you're picking in the comments. Like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.